This is Karine Jean-Pierre, former White House press secretary and self-proclaimed historical figure. Karine has written a new book titled Independent, a look inside a broken White House outside the party lines. Here is how Jean-Pierre announced the new book.
The reason I wrote this book, coming out of the White House, serving as White House press secretary was an honor and a privilege. But since I have left, the people that come up to me, strangers that come up to me just across the country as I'm traveling, and sometimes right in my neighborhood, at a grocery store, supermarket, airport, my daughter's school, the number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? How do we protect vulnerable communities among us? What do we do next?
So technically that's 4 questions. But regardless, there's no way that anyone is walking up to one of the biggest idiots in politics and asking, hey, Karine, how do we protect our democracy?
That's what they ask me. And this is my answer.
So random people ask Karine Jean-Pierre, how do we protect vulnerable communities? And she's like, oh, well, I'll let you know for the suggested retail price of $30. Yeah, no one's gonna buy your book, Karine, other than to use as a prop in a YouTube video.
This book landed on my desk, and I saw a broken White House in the subtitle. I have to say, I thought you were going to say that try as you might to convince Joe Biden to drop out of the race, because what we were seeing is what you were seeing, and he was struggling, couldn't do it. I thought you were going to say you were angry at that, but mostly...
I did too.
What you said in this book is you're angry at the people who tried to push him out.
Yes, that's correct.
Some Americans are going to say, seriously?
I too thought that. And people said, why didn't members of his inner circle speak up about what many believe was the apparent decline of Joe Biden? And you said, you're a member of the inner circle and you never saw the decline. And after that, I wrote, how?
These two have the audacity to sit here and pretend that they weren't completely silent about Joe Biden's obvious mental and physical decline during the first 3.5 years of his residency. F you, Tony, and f you, Gail.
So really, I want everybody to know that I take this question incredibly seriously. I do.
Bullshit.
I was his White House press secretary, which means I had a role that saw him practically every day and traveled with him.
And you saw nothing.
For more than 95%. We've always said, we're not going to say, oh, he didn't age. He aged. And he poked fun at it. We always owned up. And with age comes what happens when you get older.
Which is?
So obviously, didn't go the way that Karine thought it would. And in the follow-up interview, Tony DeCopel again tried to pretend that he and the media were supposedly on top of Joe Biden's decline.
Lots and lots and lots of people who just watching him on video, let alone meeting him, had reported on that. Have you reflected on why there's this big disconnect between the millions of Americans at home who were watching him and said, I don't know if he's all there, and you saying behind the scenes, wow, he was there?
So Tony DeCopel is like, well, he was clearly having problems, right? How could you have not said anything, Karine? When instead, he and the rest of the CBS network should look in the mirror and ask themselves that same question.
So a couple of things. We were always honest. You couldn't hide the fact that he was aging, right? And we saw that there were moments where it showed that he was no one is denying that.
Karine was never honest about Joe Biden's mental decline. For example, at an event in 2022, Joe Biden called out to Congresswoman Jackie Walorski.
And I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here to help make this a reality.
Tragically, Congresswoman Walorski had died weeks earlier. Joe Biden knew this, having put out a statement saying that he was shocked and saddened by her death.
I didn't think she was going to be here.
And yet Karine Jean-Pierre was like, well, that's totally normal.
So, of course, she was on his mind. She was of top of mind. She was on top of mind. I mean, I think many people can speak to sometimes when you have someone top of mind, they're a top of mind, exactly that. And she was a top of mind. She was on top of mind. I don't think it's all that unusual. to have someone top of mind, being on top of mind. And she was on top of mind. Again, she was on the top of mind. I feel like many of us have gone through that particular time where someone is on top of mind and you call them out.
But even the press corps was like, what the f***, Karine?
The confusing part is why, if she and the family is top of mind, does the president think that she's living and in the room?
I don't find that confusing.
So, as with all DEI hires, Karine Jean-Pierre went on her little media tour and couldn't shut up about her identity.
And for me, as a Black woman, as a person who's also LGBTQ, and as a Black woman, being a Black woman, I understood as a Black woman, as a person of color, a Black person, as a Black woman, I'm a Black woman, as a Black woman myself, I am a Black woman, I am a queer woman, I'm an immigrant. And so for me, I represent communities that matter. Being a Black woman, someone in this skin, and in this obviously in this gender, being a Black woman, being part of the LGBTQ community. I was the first Black woman as White House press secretary, right? A queer community, LGBTQ community, immigrant. I'm a Black woman. I can speak to that. Obviously I'm speaking to myself. LGBTQ community, as this immigrant, queer, Black girl, who was told I would never amount to anything. And I have my queerness too, which is very important to me. I know I say as a Black woman, but as a person, I was like, wait, what's going on here? Why are we doing this? As a Black woman who has walked through the walls of the White House, first, I want to say I've always had an independent streak. If people who know me know that this book is probably not all that surprising. My mom would tell you when she was asked, what was Karine like as a kid? She was like, Karine would be in the room. If she couldn't figure something out, she would stay up all night trying to figure it out. So I am like innately that type of person.
What does allegedly having an independent streak have to do with figuring things out? Couldn't tell you. And there isn't a person on the planet that believes that Karine Jean-Pierre is any kind of problem solver. Regardless, the book is titled Independent, A Look at the Broken White House Outside the Party Lines, which normally would imply that it's a tell-all book about the Biden administration.
Right here in the subhead is a broken White House. So talk to us a little bit more about that, about President Biden and how he was doing last year during this re-election campaign. And if it's not questions about his health, what made it a broken White House?
So the broken White House is about this current moment. Okay. And so the broken White House is the White House that is currently obviously has the administration, the Trump administration, and what I'm seeing.
Well, that's confusing. How can Karine Jean-Pierre have an inside look at the current administration of which she has no part whatsoever?
Karine, were you present on the day of the infamous debate?
Yes, I was.
Why did not anyone, seeing a clearly ill President Biden approaching the podium, why did not anyone around him say, wait a minute?
I did not know he had a cold. I did not know he was sick. It wasn't until he started talking during the debate. So that's more for the campaign, the political side to speak to.
There have been several excuses for Joe Biden's dismal performance during his debate with Donald Trump, but the most unbelievable one, and the one that Karine is sticking with, is that Joe Biden had a cold.
Sources close to the president say he's had a cold for the past couple of days. He was tested for COVID by his doctor, does not have it. Questions tonight about why he didn't take some cold medicine or something.
Yeah, maybe he did take some cold medicine. I mean, that would explain Biden's drowsy performance. But then, following Biden's appearance at the watch party, Norah O'Donnell made an observation.
Well, there you have it. The President of the United States, it appears his cold has been cured. Once in front of an audience, he's able to project, and you can hear him a little better. I mean, it's a remarkable transformation.
And after appearing at the watch party, Biden went to a Waffle House.
Suffering from a cold, your campaign says that you're sick.
And I need to point out that Joe Biden, who for the better part of 2 years couldn't shut up about doing your patriotic duty and wearing a mask so you won't get your fellow Americans sick, has zero qualms about going to the local Waffle House to spread around his cold. And then hours later, he was shaking hands on the tarmac at Raleigh-Durham International Airport while meeting supporters. So much for patriotism, I guess.
Independent, you've left the party. I'll admit, as an independent myself, I did read a few, of these passages and go, it really feels like you're setting this up as Democrats versus Republicans. Would you ever vote Republican?
No, I would not vote Republican.
So then are you an independent?
Well, no, here's the thing. What I'm trying to highlight is the system is indeed broken. We need a two-party system that's functioning, that's actually functioning in order for our democracy to work.
So we need a two-party system, but never vote for one of the two parties. Makes sense to me. What's your problem? So Karine claims that she's an independent now because of the way Democrats treated Joe Biden in the weeks following the debate.
So in the book, I tell the story of what happened in those 3 weeks. It was very personal to me because I lived it and breathed it every single day. And whatever view that you may have of him, treating him the way that he was treated in those 3 weeks was awful. It was
deplorable.
Hey.
But she'll still vote for him though.
I'm just speaking from myself, and I saw it, I lived it, I breathed it, and it was something that I just could not understand. Why would they do it this way?
Yeah, publicly.
Publicly, in a humiliating way.
So here's what happened. After the debate disaster, the Democrats who enabled President Biden to run for a second term couldn't hide the fact that he was completely out of it. So they had no choice but to push him out. And now Karine's upset because they were mean to him or something.
So I don't think it was necessarily a betrayal of Joe Biden as other people saying, we don't think we were shown the Joe Biden that you saw. But what happened was the debate performance. Everything is downstream of that.
And no one is saying that the debate performance wasn't shocking, wasn't a disappointment. No one is saying that.
Disappointment is such a light term.
I use your words.
It was harrowing.
I use your words.
Okay.
So Stephen Colbert was one of the countless Democrat elites that contributed to Joe Biden's run in 2024. In fact, he helped raise $26 million at a Radio City Music Hall event back in March 2024. But now they want to pretend that the real main villain was Karine Jean-Pierre. How could you not have seen what we all saw, Karine? When in reality, they ignored what was directly in front of them.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
And with that, that's it for now. If you want to support the channel, head over to my new merch store at don'twalkrun.shop. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time, if there is next time.